Captain Abigail Stone stood tall as the massive doors to the Galactic Council chamber swung open. Her blue uniform was crisp and perfect, every medal properly placed. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, walking down the long aisle toward the semicircle of alien representatives. The council hall was huge, with a ceiling that seemed to reach into space itself. 57 different alien species watched her approach. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes, and a few were just clouds of gas in special containers. But all of them were staring at the human. Behind Abigail walked Lieutenant Daniel West, her chief engineer. His fingers tapped nervously against his leg as they approached the central platform. Neither of them showed fear, though. Humans were new to the galactic community, only joining 10 years ago. They had something to prove today. Representatives of the Galactic Council, Abigail said, her voice clear and strong. Earth thanks you for this opportunity. We present to you humanity's contribution to the Joint Defense Fleet, the U.S. Vanguard. She pressed a button on her wrist device. A hologram appeared above the platform, showing a small spaceship. It was sleek but simple, about 1/8 the size of most military vessels used by the Council races. A strange sound filled the chamber. It took Abigail a moment to recognize it as laughter. It started with the Xalaxians, the most powerful military force in the Council. Their ambassador Kistfor's four-mandible mouth clicked rapidly in their version of laughter. "This is a joke, yes," Kistfor said, standing up. His green armored body towered over the other representatives. Humans bring a toy to a fleet of warships. More laughter spread through the chamber. Abigail's cheeks burned, but she kept her face neutral. "The Vanguard may be smaller than your vessels," she replied, "but size isn't everything. Our ship has unique capabilities that would benefit the joint fleet." "Like what?" asked Kistfor. "Does it transform into something useful? Perhaps a food dispenser?" More laughter followed. Daniel stepped forward. "The Vanguard uses new propulsion and defense systems. It's faster and more maneuverable than—" "Enough," interrupted Counselor Mira of the Plex Confederation. She was one of the few allies humans had made. "Captain Stone, while we appreciate Earth's contribution, this vessel appears inadequate for frontline defense." Abigail saw Daniel's hands clench into fists. 2 years of their lives had gone into this ship. The revolutionary technology hidden beneath its hull could change everything. But they couldn't reveal those secrets here, not even to allies. Kistfor walked closer to the hologram, circling it like a predator. "Look at this tiny vessel. My Empire's smallest scout ships are 3 times this size. Our dreadnoughts could accidentally run over this without noticing." The Xalaxian delegation chittered with amusement. "Our shipyards produce 20 warships each cycle," Kistfor continued, "each one capable of planetary bombardment. And humans offer this. This is why young species should watch and learn before attempting to join their betters." Abigail felt her heart pounding but kept her voice steady. The Vanguard was designed with different priorities than size and brute force. "We believe efficiency and innovation. The Council has standards." Kistfor cut her off. "This vessel meets none of them." The Council voted quickly. The Vanguard was rejected as part of the Joint Defense Fleet. Instead, it would be assigned to cargo escort duty in secure sectors. The safest, most boring assignment possible. As they left the chamber, Daniel finally spoke. "They didn't even give us a chance to demonstrate. They think they know everything about ship design." Abigail replied quietly. "They see our smaller vessel and assume they understand its capabilities. So we just accept this humiliation. Escort duty." Abigail stopped and looked at her engineer. A small smile appeared on her face. "For now, Lieutenant, let them laugh. They don't know what the Vanguard can really do. And by the time they find out, it'll be too late for them to stop laughing." The U.S. Vanguard drifted through space, its engines humming quietly. Inside the ship, the mood was tense. Commander Jason Clark paced the bridge, his face showing his anger. "Cargo duty. We spent 3 years building this ship, and they give us cargo duty. Jason stopped in front of Captain Abigail Stone, who sat calmly in her command chair. It's not just any cargo duty, Abigail said with a small smile. It's the safest, most boring route in the entire galaxy. They really wanted to put us somewhere we wouldn't cause trouble, or somewhere we wouldn't show them up, Daniel West added from his engineering station. He was still upset about the council meeting. Abigail stood up and looked around at her bridge crew. Everyone not in the command team, please leave the bridge for 15 minutes. The junior officers looked surprised but followed orders. When only 6 senior officers remained, Abigail walked to the main display and pressed her hand against a hidden scanner. Computer, activate privacy mode. Authorization Stone, Alpha 7 to 2. The lights dimmed slightly, and a soft hum indicated that anti-listening measures were active. What I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest level, Abigail said. Earth Command knew the Council would reject our ship. In fact, they counted on it. Jason's eyes widened. They wanted us to be humiliated. They wanted the Vanguard to be underestimated, Abigail corrected. The ship you saw in that hologram wasn't the real Vanguard. It was a simplified version. Daniel smiled for the first time since the Council meeting. So we can finally talk about the phase shift drive. Abigail nodded. And everything else. Dr. Olivia Martinez, would you like to explain your work to the command team? A quiet woman with glasses stood up from the science station. Few people noticed Dr. Martinez, which was exactly how she liked it. But everyone on Earth knew her as the most brilliant mind in physics. The Vanguard isn't just a ship, Olivia explained. It's a whole new way of thinking about space travel and combat. The phase shift drive allows us to move between dimensional planes, essentially becoming invisible and untouchable for short periods. She walked to a display and brought up complex diagrams. Our weapons are quantum entangled, meaning they ignore standard shields. And the hull is made of adaptive materials that can absorb energy attacks and redirect them. The officers stared in amazement. This was beyond anything the Council races had. Why keep this secret from our allies? Asked Jason. Because we're not sure who our allies really are, said Lieutenant Catherine Peddle from the communications station. She had been unusually quiet until now. I've been monitoring transmissions across all frequencies, even the ones the Council thinks are secure. Catherine brought up a series of coded messages on her screen. The Galaxians have been talking to someone outside the Council. Their translator missed some encrypted data packets, but I caught them. What are they saying? Abigail asked. I don't have it all decoded yet, but it's not good. Words like invasion, surprise attack, and human weaknesses come up often. The bridge fell silent as everyone processed this information. So this assignment, Jason began, is perfect. Abigail finished. While they think we're just a small, useless ship on escort duty, we'll be gathering intelligence and preparing. Earth Command suspects the Galaxians are planning something big against the Council worlds, possibly against Earth specifically. And they put their newest, most advanced ship right where no one would look twice at it, Daniel said, finally understanding. Abigail nodded. Exactly. Let them laugh at our tiny warship. Let them think we're harmless. Captain, Catherine interrupted, her hand pressed to her earpiece. I'm picking up a distress call. A civilian transport under attack by raiders in the Arcturus sector. That's outside our patrol zone, Jason pointed out. Abigail smiled as she sat back in her command chair. Perfect opportunity for a test run, don't you think? Set course for the Arcturus sector, maximum speed. Let's see what this ship can really do. As the Vanguard changed direction, its engines glowed with a strange blue light that no other ship in the galaxy possessed. Their first real test was about to begin. The U.S. Vanguard dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the Arcturus sector. Ahead of them, 3 sleek, predatory ships surrounded the bulky civilian transport. The raiders fired warning shots across the transport's hull, leaving scorch marks. Scan complete, announced Daniel from his station. 3 Selection Raider-class ships. They're demanding the transport surrender its cargo. Selection ships. Commander Jason Clark frowned. This far from their territory. They're supposed to be Council allies. Pirates steal ship designs all the time, Lieutenant Catherine Patel suggested, but her tone made it clear she didn't believe it. Captain Abigail Stone leaned forward in her chair. Security status. Lieutenant Rodriguez? Alan Rodriguez, a tall man with a scar across his jawline, checked his tactical display. All systems ready, Captain. Weapons charged but hidden. Phase shift drive at full capacity. Open a channel to the raiders, Abigail ordered. Catherine pressed a few buttons. Channel open. Attention, unidentified vessels. This is Captain Stone of the Earth ship U.S. Vanguard. Stand down and move away from the transport. A harsh laugh came through the speakers. A Selexian face appeared on the main screen, mandibles clicking. A human ship, and such a tiny one. This is not your patrol zone, little human. Leave now, and we might let you live. More laughter could be heard in the background. Interesting, Abigail said calmly. Those look like Selexian military markings on your ships. Does Ambassador Kistfor know you're attacking civilian transports? The Selexian commander's mandibles twitched in anger. Your primitive sensors are malfunctioning. We are independent operators. Now leave, or be destroyed with the transport. I'm afraid I can't do that, Abigail said. She turned off the communication and faced her crew. Everyone, battle stations. Dr. Martinez, is the phase shift drive ready for combat use? Olivia nodded from her science station. Yes, but remember, we can only stay shifted for 30 seconds at a time, with a 1-minute cooldown between shifts. Understood. Mr. Rodriguez, target their weapon systems only. Let's try to disable, not destroy. Alan's fingers moved over his console. Targeting locked. They're powering up weapons, Daniel warned. All 3 ships are targeting us. Jason looked worried. Captain, we're outnumbered 3-1. Abigail smiled. No, Commander. They're outmatched 1-3. Dr. Martinez, activate phase shift on my mark. The raiders fired first. Bright beams of energy streaked toward the Vanguard. Phase shift, now, Abigail ordered. The world around them seemed to blur. The energy beams passed harmlessly through the space where the Vanguard had been. To the raiders, it looked like the human ship had simply vanished. Reposition behind the lead raider, Abigail commanded. Prepare to fire when we phase back. The Vanguard moved silently through dimension-shifted space, appearing ghostly and transparent to its own crew. When they reached position, Olivia counted down. Phasing back in 3, 2, 1. The Vanguard snapped back into normal space directly behind the lead raider. Before the Selections could react, Alan fired precision shots that sliced through the raider's weapon systems. Phase shift recharging, Olivia reported. 59 seconds until we can shift again. Evasive maneuvers, Abigail ordered as the other 2 raiders turned toward them. The Vanguard moved with surprising speed and agility for its size, dodging most of the incoming fire. What hits they did take were absorbed by the hull, which glowed slightly as it stored the energy. Hull energy absorption at 20% capacity, Daniel reported. We can redirect that energy to our next attack. When the phase shift drive recharged, they repeated the maneuver, blinking out of existence and reappearing near another raider. Within minutes, all 3 enemy ships were disabled, floating powerless in space. The transport is hailing us, Captain, Catherine said. Put them through. An amazed human face appeared on screen. Vanguard, this is Captain Joe Miller of the transport Rising Sun. I don't know how you did that, but thank you. They would have killed us all. Happy to help, Rising Sun. We'll escort you to the nearest station. As the communication ended, Dr. Patricia Wilson, the ship's medical officer, approached the captain. The transport reports minor injuries. I've offered medical assistance once we dock. Abigail nodded and looked around at her stunned crew. "Well," she said with a small smile, "I'd call that a successful first test. Wouldn't you?" News of the Vanguard's victory spread quickly. The ship docked at Arcturus Station, where the crew received thankful smiles from the transport passengers they had saved. But not everyone was happy about their success. Elizabeth Grant, the ship's diplomatic officer, entered the bridge with a worried look on her face. Her usual neat appearance was disrupted by a loose strand of hair that kept falling across her forehead. "Captain, we have a problem," she said, handing Abigail a datapad. "The Xalaxian embassy has filed a formal complaint against us." Abigail looked at the pad and frowned. "They're saying we attacked their patrol ships." "That's ridiculous. They were clearly raiders attacking a civilian transport." The Xalaxians claimed their ships were conducting a routine inspection and that we interfered with official business. Commander Jason Clark snorted. "Routine inspection with weapons fire. Nobody's going to believe that." "Some already do," Elizabeth said quietly. "The Xalaxians have a lot of influence in the Council, and they're demanding to know how our ship disappeared during the battle." Abigail handed the pad back to Elizabeth. "Tell them our sensors malfunctioned and misidentified their ships as raiders. As for how we disappeared, blame it on a temporary sensor ghost. They won't believe that. They don't need to believe it. They just need an official response they can file away." Abigail turned to Catherine. "Lieutenant Patel, any updates on those transmissions you were monitoring?" Catherine looked up from her station. "Yes, Captain. I've detected increased communications activity from Xalaxian ships." And she hesitated. "3 vessels have been shadowing us since we left Arcturus Station." "Shadowing us? Show me." The main screen changed to show the space behind them. 3 dots moved in perfect formation, maintaining the same distance from the Vanguard. "They're staying just at the edge of standard sensor range," Catherine explained. "If we weren't specifically looking for them, we might miss them." "They're watching us," Jason said. "They want to see if we'll use the phase shift again." Abigail nodded. "Mr. Carter, is there anything unusual about our assigned patrol route?" Navigation Officer William Carter, a quiet man with sharp eyes, studied his charts. "Now that you mention it, yes. Our route takes us close to several uninhabited systems near Xalaxian space, systems that wouldn't normally need patrols." "Let me see those systems." William brought up a map on the main screen. The patrol route was marked in blue, winding through several star systems that seemed empty. "I've been collecting long-range scan data from these systems," William said. "There's something strange about the third one, Gamma Hydra. It shows unusual energy signatures. Can we get closer scans? Not without deviating from our assigned route." Abigail thought for a moment. "We could have a navigation error that takes us slightly off course." 2 days later, the Vanguard passed near Gamma Hydra system. William ran deep scans while pretending to fix a navigation problem. "Captain," he called, his voice tight with tension. "You need to see this." Everyone gathered around his station. The scans showed dozens of large ships under construction around the system's outer planets. Military vessels, far larger than anything the Xalaxians had declared to the Council. "That's a fleet," Jason whispered. "A massive invasion fleet." "How many ships?" Abigail asked. "At least 60 large vessels, plus support craft. Based on their size and configuration, they're dreadnoughts and carriers." Daniel studied the energy readings. "Those ships have weapon systems unlike anything they've shown before." "We need to report this to Earth Command immediately," Abigail said. "Catherine, prepare a secure transmission. Encrypt it with the highest level clearance." "Captain," Catherine interrupted, looking at her console. "We're receiving new orders from Earth Command." "What do they say?" "We're to continue our patrol route as assigned and gather more intelligence. They say," she paused, reading carefully, "they say do not alert the target that we're aware of their activities." Abigail looked around at her crew. Their faces showed a mix of concern and determination. "Well," she said, "it seems we're now officially on a spy mission. Let's make sure those ships following us don't realize what we've discovered. As the Vanguard continued its seemingly routine patrol, the crew couldn't help but wonder what the Selaxians were planning, and whether their small ship would soon be the only thing standing between Earth and an invasion fleet. 2 weeks passed. The Vanguard continued its patrol, pretending it had seen nothing unusual. They reported back to Earth Command, daily using coded messages that seemed like routine updates, but actually contained vital intelligence about the Selaxian fleet. The Vanguard was orbiting a small moon when Catherine's console lit up with urgent signals. "Captain, emergency broadcast from the Galactic Council headquarters," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "All council representatives are being called for an emergency session." "What's happening?" Abigail asked. "The message doesn't say, but it's marked with the highest priority." And Catherine paused. "Earth's ambassador is specifically requested to attend." Commander Jason looked at Abigail. "It could be a trap. Or they found out about the fleet we discovered," Daniel suggested. "Set course for Council headquarters," Abigail ordered. "Maximum speed." The Vanguard arrived at the massive space station that served as the Galactic Council's meeting place. Dozens of diplomatic vessels were already docked. The station's main hall could hold representatives from all 112 member species, though usually only about 60 attended regular sessions. "Captain, we're receiving a request from Earth's ambassador," Catherine said. "He wants you to join him at the emergency session." Abigail looked surprised. "Me? Why?" "He doesn't say, but he sent a shuttle to bring you aboard." Abigail turned to Jason. "You have command. If anything seems wrong, don't wait for me. Get the ship to safety and contact Earth Command." An hour later, Abigail sat next to Earth's ambassador in the Great Council Hall. Every seat was filled, and the room hummed with worried conversations in dozens of languages. The council leader, a tall blue-skinned alien, called for order. "This emergency session will now begin. Ambassador Kestfor of the Xalaxian Empire has requested this meeting to make an important announcement." Kestfor stepped to the center of the room. His green armored body gleamed under the lights. He seemed bigger than Abigail remembered, more threatening. "Honored representatives," Kestfor began, his voice smooth and confident. "For too long, the Galactic Council has been weak. Decisions take years. Actions take decades. Meanwhile, primitive species like humans are admitted despite their technological inferiority." Murmurs filled the room. Some representatives nodded in agreement. Others looked offended. "The Xalaxian Empire has decided that a new order is needed," Kestfor continued. "One with stronger leadership, one with clear direction." "What are you suggesting, Ambassador?" the council leader asked. Kestvor's mandibles spread in what humans had learned was a Xalaxian smile. "I am not suggesting anything. I am informing you of what will happen." He pressed a button on his wrist device. The main display showed hundreds of Xalaxian warships appearing near key worlds throughout Council space. "As I speak, Xalaxian forces are taking control of major Council worlds. Resistance is pointless." The room erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted. Some tried to leave. Others demanded explanations. "You can't do this," shouted one representative. "This violates all our treaties." "Treaties made with a weak council that no longer exists," Kestfor replied. He turned to face the Earth ambassador and Abigail. "Humans, always so confident despite their weakness. Your world will be among the first to learn its proper place." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. The main display showed Xalaxian warships appearing around the council station itself. This meeting was a trap, Abigail realized. She activated her wrist communicator. "Vanguard, this is the captain. Battle stations, Xalaxian fleet incoming." Kestfor laughed. "Your tiny ship against our fleet. Your humor is the only admirable human quality." Chaos broke out as armed Xalaxian soldiers entered the council chamber. They began separating the representatives into groups. Earth representatives will come with me, Keystfor ordered, pointing at Abigail and the ambassador. Ryan Mitchell, the Vanguard's tactical officer who had accompanied Abigail as security, drew his weapon. "Captain, we need to go. Now." Shots were fired as Ryan created a path to a side door. Abigail grabbed the Earth ambassador, and they ran through corridors filled with panicked aliens. "We need to reach the shuttle bay," Abigail shouted above the noise of alarms and weapons fire. Behind them, Kistvor's voice echoed through the station's communication system. "Let the new era begin." Alarms blared as Abigail, Ryan, and the Earth ambassador ran through the station's corridors. Selection soldiers were everywhere, rounding up representatives and station staff. "This way," Ryan said, checking a small device on his wrist. "The shuttle bay is 2 levels down." They turned a corner and found 3 Selection soldiers blocking their path. Ryan fired quickly, stunning 2 of them. The third raised his weapon, but Abigail was faster, knocking the gun from his hands with a well-placed kick. "The elevator is ahead," the ambassador said, breathing heavily. He wasn't used to running like this. When they reached the shuttle bay, their hearts sank. Most of the shuttles were damaged or destroyed. Smoke filled the large area, and bodies of security officers lay on the floor. "Our shuttle's gone," Ryan said grimly. Abigail tapped her communicator again. "Vanguard, do you copy? We need immediate extraction." Static answered her. The Selexians were jamming communications. "There," the ambassador pointed. "One shuttle still looks functional." They ran to the small craft. It was damaged but might fly. Ryan jumped into the pilot's seat and started the engines while Abigail helped the ambassador aboard. "It's not responding right," Ryan warned as the shuttle shuddered to life. "Controls are sluggish." "Just get us away from the station," Abigail ordered. The shuttle lifted off just as more Selexian soldiers entered the bay. Laser fire hit their craft, causing warning lights to flash across the control panel. "Hull breach in the rear section," Ryan reported. "We're losing air." "Can we reach the Vanguard?" the ambassador asked. "We have to try," Abigail said. The shuttle limped out of the bay into open space. The scene outside was chaos. Selexian warships surrounded the station, firing on any vessels attempting to escape. Diplomatic ships, never designed for combat, were being destroyed one after another. "There's the Vanguard," Ryan pointed. The small Earth ship was dodging Selexian fire, its movements quick and unpredictable. 2 Selexian cruisers were trying to corner it. "They can't hold out much longer," Abigail said. Ryan steered the damaged shuttle toward the Vanguard, but a Selexian fighter spotted them. It turned, weapons charging. "Brace for impact," Ryan shouted. The fighter fired, and their shuttle spun out of control. Warning alarms screamed as systems failed one after another. "We're not going to make it," the ambassador said quietly. Suddenly, the Vanguard appeared between them and the fighter. It fired precision shots that disabled the Selexian ship, then moved closer to the shuttle. "Captain, if you can hear me, prepare for emergency transport." Commander Jason's voice came through the damaged radio. A blue light surrounded Abigail, Ryan, and the ambassador. The sensation of being pulled apart and put back together washed over them. When it cleared, they were standing on the Vanguard's transport pad. "Emergency transport successful," Daniel reported from the control panel. His face was streaked with soot, and a cut on his forehead was still bleeding. "Get us to the bridge," Abigail ordered as she helped the shaky ambassador off the pad. The Vanguard was in bad shape. Damaged panels hung from the ceiling, and emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. Crew members ran back and forth, putting out small fires in ceiling breaches. On the bridge, Commander Jason stood at the tactical station, personally firing the ship's weapons. He looked relieved when Abigail entered. "Captain on the bridge," he announced. "Status report," Abigail demanded as she took her seat. "Hull integrity at 62%. Phase shift drive damage but operational." "We've lost long-range communications," Jason reported. We're surrounded by 37 selection ships, Catherine added from her station. More are arriving every minute. The ambassador's ship, the Oxford? Abigail asked. Catherine's face fell. Destroyed with all hands, Captain. The ambassador sank into a chair, his face pale with shock. Dr. Olivia Martinez approached Abigail. Captain, I think I can modify the phase shift drive to get us out of here, but it's risky. We'd be pushing it beyond tested limits. What are our options if we stay? Abigail asked. Capture or destruction, Jason said bluntly. We can't fight them all. Abigail looked at her damaged ship and exhausted crew. Then she looked at the view screen showing the massive Xalaxian fleet that surrounded them. Dr. Martinez, make those modifications. We need to warn Earth about what's happened here. Right now, we might be the only ship that can get through the Xalaxian lines. Where will we go? Daniel asked. Home, Abigail said. We're going to Earth. And then we're coming back with a plan to stop this invasion. As Dr. Martinez hurried to engineering, the rest of the crew prepared for their desperate escape attempt. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire Council, now rested on the shoulders of the ship that had once been laughed at. 3 days had passed since the Vanguard's desperate escape from the Council station. Dr. Martinez's modifications to the phase shift drive had worked, but not without cost. The ship had barely survived the journey back to Earth, arriving with hull breaches on multiple decks and systems failing throughout the vessel. Earth's defense fleet mobilized immediately after hearing Captain Stone's report, but everyone knew the truth. They were outnumbered and outgunned by the Xalaxian forces. Now, repaired as much as possible in the short time available, the Vanguard prepared for its most dangerous mission yet. Captain Abigail Stone stood on the bridge, looking at the determined faces of her crew. The plan is simple but risky, she explained, pointing to the display showing the Xalaxian command fleet. While Earth's defense forces distract the main Xalaxian attack force, we'll use our phase shift technology to penetrate their defenses and target their command ship. If we can disable it, their entire fleet coordination will collapse. We've identified the command ship, Catherine said, highlighting a massive dreadnought at the center of the Xalaxian formation. The Dominance. It's 3 times larger than any of their other vessels, and likely where we'll find Cased 4. Abigail added. Engineer Daniel West stepped forward. I've reconfigured our hull to absorb more energy than before. We can use their own weapons fire against them if we time it right. Our phase shift drive is still damaged, Dr. Martins warned. We'll get 5, maybe 6 shifts before it fails completely. Then we'll make each one count, Abigail said firmly. Lisa Harper, the ship's intelligence officer, had spent the last days analyzing Xalaxian fleet movements. Their ships communicate using a central network. If we can disrupt the command ship's transmitter, it will create confusion throughout their fleet. The crew prepared for battle as the Vanguard approached the massive space battle already underway. Earth ships fought bravely against overwhelming Xalaxian numbers. Explosions lit up space like deadly fireworks. Everyone, Abigail said quietly, record personal messages for your families, just in case. The crew understood what she meant. This mission might be one way. Hours later, the Vanguard approached the edge of the Xalaxian fleet. Hundreds of enemy ships stood between them and the Dominance. Phase shift ready, Dr. Martins reported. Begin the attack run, Abigail ordered. The Vanguard disappeared from normal space, shifting into the dimensional plane that made it invisible and untouchable. They passed through the first line of Xalaxian ships like a ghost. When they reappeared, they fired precisely at 2 enemy cruisers, then shifted again before return fire could hit them. Again and again, they repeated the pattern. Appear, fire, disappear. Each time, Xalaxian ships were left damaged and confused, firing wildly at empty space. But by the 4th shift, the Vanguard was showing strain. Warnings flashed across every console. Phase shift drive overheating, Daniel reported. 1 more shift, maybe 2 at most. "We're still not close enough to the dominance," Jason said. Abigail made a decision. "We'll use the next shift to get as close as possible, then make a direct run at their command ship." The Vanguard shifted one more time, reappearing just 2,000 meters from the massive dominance. Immediately, every Selaxian gun turned toward them. "Final phase shift ready," Dr. Martinez said. "But the drive will burn out after this." "Target their main bridge," Abigail ordered. "Shift now." The Vanguard disappeared one last time, reappearing inside the Dominance's shields, directly in front of its command center. Through the view screen, Abigail could see HFY himself standing at the command console, his mandibles spread wide in shock. "Energy absorption systems at maximum," Daniel called out. The Dominance's weapons fired point-blank, but instead of destroying the Vanguard, something unexpected happened. The human ship's hull glowed brighter and brighter as it absorbed the massive energy directed at it. "Now, Daniel," Abigail shouted. Daniel redirected the absorbed energy directly into the Dominance's command center. The massive ship shuddered as systems failed throughout its length. The energy backflow cascaded through its network, jumping from ship to ship across the Galaxian fleet. On the Vanguard's view screen, HFY's face showed disbelief as his mighty command ship went dark around him. One by one, Galaxian ships lost power and drifted helplessly in space. The fleet that had seemed unstoppable was now dead in the water. "Broadcast on all frequencies," Abigail ordered Catherine. "Tell every council world that the Galaxian fleet has been neutralized." As cheers erupted across the bridge, Abigail looked at the disabled Dominance floating before them. The tiny, primitive human ship had just defeated the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. "I'd wonder," she said with a small smile, "if they're still laughing now."